because Peirce particularly had this motto, never block the road to inquiry. So never try to stop your inquiry. Always try and open it up. Always open it up. Always keep it moving forward. And so that was the spirit with which they would enter into things. So we often don't do that in inquiry. We often have a line of thinking and then try and take other things we know to block that line, to see, well, will it pass this test? Will it pass this test? You know, we're down this road and we just keep throwing roadblocks in to test the theory, to make sure it will keep. And the way Peirce looked at it was, because he had this incredible idea of fallibility. So he said, the one thing I'm sure of is everything I know today is not going to be true 100 years ago. So why should I take my new idea and make sure it matches up with all the ones I know are going to be wrong? Because if this is going to be the new one, I might as well follow it right to the end and see where it leads me before I start making sure it matches up with everything I know is going to fall by the wayside anyway. And so what it resulted in was an enormously creative spirit. I mean, the ideas they had was just incredible. Now, it also meant there were a lot of blind alleys and a lot of dead ends and a lot of things that got followed and probably should have been dropped earlier. But it meant, well, it resulted in the philosophy of pragmatism, which became a major force for decades. And it was based on this idea that an idea has to prove itself in action, which wasn't a utilitarian philosophy. It was actually an evolutionary philosophy, because they said an idea, two things. One, they said, if we live in an evolving universe, we shouldn't look to the past as verification for our truths, right? Which is one way that you find truth, is you say, okay, here's my new idea, and I look back and I say, well, this idea is built from this one that I already know is true, and this one that I already know is true, and this one that I already know is true, and so this one is also now true. But that roots all of your ideas in the past. And they said the truth of your ideas shouldn't be rooted in the past, it should be rooted in the future. It should be rooted in what this idea is going to result in when you do it, because the universe is moving forward, not backward. So we want our ideas to be also pointing forward. And also they felt like if species have to prove themselves in the world, then so our ideas should also have to prove themselves. They shouldn't get a free ride. And so that created a certain spirit of inquiry that is just something good to keep in mind when we have discussions. I personally am just very inspired by that way of thinking because it's very free. They were very free thinkers, very wild in some ways. And then when you look at the kinds of things like someone like Peirce or James were thinking, they're pretty far out, their ideas. And they're not the kind of ideas you would come to by taking other ideas and putting them together into a new configuration. They're just dramatically different.